Welcome to the 700 Club, day 2 of the government shutdown, and neither side is showing any sign of compromise. Vice President J.D. Vance said mass layoffs could begin in a matter of days.
And yesterday, the Senate failed to pass short-term funding bills to reopen the government. There will be no vote today due to the Yom Kippur holiday. CBN News senior White House correspondent Kelly Wright reports.
Signs of the shutdown are appearing in Washington, D.C. The crisis is further polarizing an already divided Congress, with both political parties blaming each other. Wednesday, Vice President J.D. Vance spoke to reporters at a White House press briefing, claiming the Democrats caused the government's closing because they demanded extending health care to illegal immigrants.
The Chuck Schumer AOC wing of the Democratic Party shut down the government because they said to us, we will open the government, but only if you give billions of dollars of funding for health care for illegal aliens.
Democrats deny that claim. They say their focus is on renewing the Affordable Health Care Act in order to prevent insurance premiums becoming more costly to American families.
We are fighting to lower the high cost of living and to protect the health care of everyday Americans.
Republicans want the government reopened before negotiating the details. Yesterday, the Senate voted down a temporary funding measure to turn the lights back on. As the shutdown continues, life for federal workers will only get harder. 750,000 federal workers could be furloughed or fired by the Trump administration. Also, essential workers like TSA agents, air traffic controllers, and the U.S. military are being told to continue working without pay.
Let's be honest. If this thing drags on for another few days or, God forbid, another few weeks, we are going to have to lay people off.
Vice President Vance says he's very concerned about the vulnerable people in America who he believes will suffer the most during this government shutdown. Asked by reporters how long he thinks it will last, he says he really does not know. It's really incumbent upon the Democrats to come to the table and agree to the continuing resolution. At the White House, Kelly Wright, CBN News.
It looks like the two parties are facing off in a really giant battle of chicken. Who's going to blink first? And here we are with a lot of federal workers with no paycheck. And for many of them, we already know they're paycheck to paycheck. And so how much pain can they go through in all of this? It's a shame that we've gotten so partisan we can't even agree to fund the government moving forward. But that's the state of affairs in America today. In other news, as Israel celebrates Yom Kippur, there's still no response from Hamas on the peace proposal. Gary Lane has that story and more from the CBN newsroom. Gary?
Gordon, as you know, the president gave the terror group a 3 to 4 day deadline to agree to the deal. So as the clock ticks down, Hamas is resisting some of the demands. George Thomas has the details.
As Israeli forces keep tightening their grip on Hamas in Gaza, there's word from Arab mediators that the terror group may be warming to a U.S.-backed ceasefire deal, but they're asking for more time to go over the terms.
We look forward to a political solution of importance. Whether it's a two-state solution or a similar proposal, it should be based on the simplest things we desire most: freedom, dignity, justice, and equality.
Hamas is pushing back on demands to disarm and turn over all their weapons. The plan also calls for the release of 48 hostages within 72 hours. Hamas says they don't even know where all of them are. They're also skeptical the plan offers Palestinians a path to statehood. Meanwhile, tens of thousands are still fleeing Gaza City. Israel's defense minister says those who stay will be seen as supporting terror.
I came out at 8 a.m. It's now 2 p.m. I've been walking for over 8 continuous hours.
Today, the Israeli Navy also intercepted an aid flotilla headed for Gaza, detaining activists who tried to break the blockade. And in a surprise move, President Trump has signed an executive order pledging to defend Qatar, calling it a key U.S. ally in the region. This comes after Israel launched an attack on Hamas leaders in Qatar, which Trump criticized. At the same time, as Jews mark Yom Kippur, Around 200 American evangelical leaders are calling on Trump to back Israel's claim to Judea and Samaria, also known as the West Bank. The Family Research Council recently sent a letter to the president voicing support.
This is the heartland of Israel. 80% of what we read about in our Bibles took place there in Judea and Samaria. And it's been the topic of the quote-unquote two-state solution going back 70 years. We support the president. He's done so much for Israel, but warned that there's danger when we move in opposite direction of what the Word of God says as it pertains to the nation of Israel.
And this show of support comes as a new New York Times Siena University poll finds American support for Israel has slipped ever since that deadly Hamas attack nearly 2 years ago. George Thomas, CBN News.
Thank you, George. In the United Kingdom, 2 people are dead, 3 are in serious condition after an attack on members of a synagogue on Yom Kippur. It happened in the city of Manchester, England. The attacker drove a car into a crowd and then stabbed one man. Police shot the suspect, who is also believed dead. Anti-Semitism in the United States continues to be a challenge. The group Jew Belong is fighting back with a unique billboard campaign. CBN and Regent University are coming alongside to help bring their message to more cities across the nation. New York marketing executive Archie Gottesman believes anti-Semitism is so severe that many Jews are afraid to openly discuss or display their faith, even here in the United States. She stopped a phone conversation about a trip to Jerusalem when she realized her Uber driver was listening.
I never, ever would have thought that I would be scared to mention that I was going to go visit my sister, in New York City. But that's like a silly little example, but it's scary. It's scary not to be able to be who you are.
CBN first reported on Gottesman and Jew Belong's mission to fight anti-Semitism through this billboard campaign in June. Gottesman is deeply concerned about the rising anti-Israel sentiment on campuses and its impact on Jewish students and their non-Jewish friends.
Maybe you're Christian and you're an ally to Israel and you feel like, well, I better not say that because the kids down the hall might, hate me and they might not want to be friends, or they might, say terrible things about me. Or for a Jewish student, same thing. If they're like, well, I can't be a proud Jew because I have to hide my identity.
The Christian Broadcasting Network, CBN Israel, and Regent University have partnered with Jew Belong to amplify the organization's voice through social media, web advertising, and a nationwide billboard campaign.
We need to be more than, this little group. And the only way to do that is to work with allies in the Christian community, and by speaking in ways that are get a lot of eyes, millions and millions of eyes. We're so blessed with the friends at CBN and Regent, a connection that is based in faith and based both in faith and tradition. And I can't say enough about it. It's really meant everything to us. It's changed the tenor sometimes of us, it just feels less lonely.
That's why billboards are moving beyond Ivy League schools to towns and universities in Virginia, Tennessee, Wisconsin, Oklahoma, and across the country. I'm sure some people, Archie, would say, well, these are only billboards. What difference can they possibly make to change anti-Semitic views? So what do you say to them?
They would never take someone who's a real hater. Like someone who hates Jews is not going to see our billboard and say, oh, great, now I like Jews. You're right. It can't change deep hatred. But what they do is they make people who are not as aware speak up. It just maybe gives people the bravery to say something. Things don't change in America unless awareness is raised.
Shining light on hate, bringing change to America, one billboard at a time. Gordon, what a great idea. With more than 240 million Americans that are licensed motorists, billboards can have a major impact.
They can, and they can make people think, and that's the whole goal of this. We're very proud to stand with Archie and stand with Jew Belong to be part of this campaign and just raise the awareness. Charlie Kirk paid with his life for his stands, and one of his stands was to stand with Israel. And he wrote a very famous letter now back in May to the Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, talking about how Israel was losing the propaganda war and the social media war and the conversation war. And that within Gen Z, he was seeing an incredible rise of anti-Semitism. So let's go right at that and say, for the sake of my children and my grandchildren, I cannot be silent in my generation as we see the rise of this. And let's get out there very publicly and say, no, not on our watch. You don't get to do this again. Look at the current conflict in Hamas and go back to all the way to 1929 and the massacre of Hebron. The similarities are absolutely chilling as to what happened in the Gaza envelope on October 7th. You look at the similarities, and so the current lie is, well, it's because of the occupation. Well, there was no occupation in 1929. It's because of colonialism. No, that wasn't there at all. The primary motivator against these Arab massacres of Jews in Israel is anti-Semitism. And we have to call it for what it is. They want to wipe Israel off the map. They don't want Jews in their ancestral homeland. And to say Jews don't belong in Hebron, are you kidding me? That's where the tombs of the patriarchs are. It doesn't get any more Jewish than Hebron. But they massacred them there in 1929. They massacred them in the Gaza envelope after Israel voluntarily gave up Gaza, moved all the Jews out. They still rose up and massacred them. We have to stand against this. It's pure hate, and I will call it for what it is. It's the face of evil. So in our generation, make sure you stand with Israel. Make sure you stand with the Jewish people.